Hey, everybody.
Hello, happy Sunday, happy Sunday, happy Sunday.
How
Keela,
are you? Yes,
I am feeling incredibly smart right now.
you are.
I am. The IQ of this podcast went up 3.7 million points.
Yeah, it did. And I'm
It did.
excited about it.
And we will be telling you guys exactly why in a few minutes. Today on the show, wait a minute. I don't even feel worthy of saying who we have on the show. So Keela, tell everybody this brilliant person that we have on our show today.
First of all, I am excited to have Haley Taylor Schlitz on our show today. Listen, I know she's probably like, what? I'm just a regular person. But in our world, you are a superstar.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So honored to have you. And I cannot wait to tell you the phenomenal background this girl have because she's just smashed all my theories on backstage. So listen, first of all, where are we on live with you from? Where are you at?
The Dallas Fort Worth area in Texas.
Very nice. So I know it's hot.
Oh yeah. Literally, grass is just catching on fire out here. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
It's like 117 degrees or
Are
something.
you serious?
No, it's like really bad, and that's like one of the worst days. But still, on average, it's about 106, 107.
Really?
So
Yeah.
all this time I thought you were in front of a screen and that's probably just smoke behind you.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be surprised. Horrible.
Well, we are so excited. Listen, when we come back, after we tell you where we are going today, we come back, we're going to do this awesome icebreaker. So, listen, guys, where are we going today?
Wait a minute. Wait a
Oh,
minute.
oh, oh, the
You're
DJ.
taking my job.
Oh, I'm so
I'm feeling
sorry.
smart today. Let me have my smart moment.
Okay, I'll let you have your smart moment.
So Haley and Keela, got a question for you.
Okay.
Where are we going today?
We're going all the way there.
Oh.
All the way there.
Where are we going today?
All the way there.
Let's go. Where are we going today? 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 Where are we going today?
Hello, everybody.
Okay.
Eric's still jamming to the beat.
My gosh. Okay, so look, man, before we do any introductions, well, let's do the introduction first, and then we'll go into the icebreaker.
Okay.
Okay. Today on the show, and not to keep anybody in suspense anymore, we have Haley Taylor Schlitz. Remember that name because she is the youngest person to ever graduate from law school, the youngest African American person to graduate from law school at age 19. I'm amazed.
Girl.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed. All right, so let me give you a little bit of a bio of Haley. Haley Taylor Schlitz is a 21. She's 21 now, 21-year-old, and is the youngest black person to graduate from law school in the history of the United States. In May of 2022, at age 19, Haley graduated with her doctorate degree from Southern Methodist University's Dedman School of Law. In May of 19, she became the youngest person to graduate in history when she graduated with honors with a bachelor's of science
Wow.
from Texas Women's University College of Professional Education.
Wow.
Haley feels called to give back and is is taking a year to teach social studies in schools, students in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Please welcome to the show the highly intelligent and highly anticipated Haley Taylor Schlitz.
And the crowd goes wild.
Oh my
Hey,
gosh.
girl.
I can't wait to get into this, but I'm being forced to do this icebreaker. Okay.
Oh my goodness. It's gonna be
Okay.
fun, guys.
The icebreaker is this. What is something that you have done faster than everyone else?
Mm.
Ladies first. We know one thing you did, Haley, but you can probably come up with something else. But
Hmm. I probably have watched, like, I watch a lot of anime, so I've probably watched the series that I like to watch a lot faster than everyone else. I also really like to read, so reading and watching those animes, I just
Okay.
fly through them. I fly through them.
no.
Okay. My daughter just was showing me some anime. Wait, anime? How would you say it?
Yes, anime,
Yeah.
you got it.
Anime.
Like
Okay.
anime bullet, anime.
Yes, anime. And so she was just showing me some things with some music that they had recreated. But anyway, she found it hilarious, and I was just sitting up there staring at her like, "What?" How do you do that? But okay, for me, I guess one thing is fast. I used to be a really fast runner when I was younger. I didn't do track or anything, but I was really fast at running. So I would always want to run the races, especially with the guys, because I really wanted to leave them in the dust.
There
You
you
know,
go.
yeah. So I look back at that like, man, I was. You know what, Aaron, and you are rolling your eyes, but it's the way of the world,
Mhm.
girls,
So you were fast when you were younger.
and running.
Oh, and running. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I did faster than everybody else was like when my mama used to buy Fruity Pebbles, I go
Oh
right through
wow,
it. Go right through the box. One sitting,
I feel
box
that.
gone.
I feel that.
man,
Bowl after bowl after bowl.
what an awesome talent.
I mean, I'm just sweet like that. I mean, those big cake bowls, that's what I used.
I feel
Okay,
Whole
that.
Haley.
whole
I
box.
feel that. I feel that. Pretty pebbles are
Okay,
good.
I don't.
You said
I
what?
feel that.
And I'm proud. So
You should be proud,
so that's what I did. Now Haley has completed high school
man.
at age 13.
Mm.
So let's get into that for a minute. Walk us through the promotion process, Haley. So I know, and for everybody that's watching, they are thinking that you went through traditional school, and how could you make it from kindergarten to 12th grade by
Yeah.
age 13? Please explain.
Yes. So actually, I was in traditional public school up until I was in fifth grade, and then after that, for several reasons, my parents decided, okay, we're gonna pull you out and homeschool you. But
Hmm.
something that I always like, I have to clarify is I wasn't entirely homeschooled. I wasn't home 24/7 doing like the work, and my parents were my teachers. I went to a college style school where I went to a building with certified teachers who are experts in their field, things like that, 2 days a week, and the rest of the time I was at home. So I did still get from fifth grade until I graduated that that school feel with the lockers and the games and the parties and the
Yeah.
friends and the classrooms. But it was only 2 days a week, and the rest of the time I was at home. So that provided my parents with the flexibility that they were seeking and that I needed as a student to be catered to so that way I could thrive. So that's how that happened. I started homeschooling when I was 10 and I graduated high school at 13. And from there, it really just took off.
Wow.
So listen, backstage, I said, well, you were homeschooled, so your mom was she an at-home mom? And so because I work, so I'm already done made an excuse, and my child is done with school. But I was making an excuse that you of course you were homeschooled, of course you're brilliant. And then this girl told me, what did you say your mother did?
My mom's the emergency medicine physician.
Child, she just debunked my whole theory.
Wow.
So
So
listen, this girl come from a family full of geniuses.
geniuses. Yes. Do you feel like when you graduated at 13 from high school with a bunch of 17-year-olds, how did that feel for you?
Mhm.
Well, it felt like exactly where I needed to be, and that's something that I always like try to make an analogy for people who are curious as to how it felt from my experience. It's like asking a fifth grader, sixth grader, seventh grader who's in fifth, sixth, or seventh grade, like, how does it feel to be in a fifth grade class? Like, exactly where they're supposed to be. Like, this is
Mhm.
exactly
Okay.
the space that they're supposed to be in. And for me, like I said, I was homeschooled for a lot of reasons. One of which, one of many being that I was not getting the education that I needed in the public school system.
Nah.
My
Okay.
parents asked to be tested for the gift and talent program. They said no. I was born in California. They said that and I didn't move. We didn't move to Texas until I was in second grade. And they said that you can
Okay.
only take the gift and talented test in kindergarten. So what they were basically saying is for the rest of my high school education with their system, with their public school system, I can never be a GT student. And the education I was getting was not engaging me, and it wasn't challenging me, it wasn't pushing me, it wasn't at the level I needed to be at. So when I
Okay.
was graduating and ready to finally go off to college and the next steps in my education, it was like a relief to finally be able to be where I needed to be. When my parents started homeschooling me, it was a relief. When I graduated, it was a relief, and a huge motivation for me as well. A surge of
Mhm.
excitement to actually be where I was meant to be.
Mm.
That is wonderful. When you really think about that, and I know that, especially in the Black community, we love, but I think it's an amazing thing to see such um a powerful young woman coming up in education, and not just just to blow all of, it's a Black girl. But what I'm saying is it's so encouraging because your focus are on other things that the typical average person your age is not thinking about,
Mm.
and I think it's encouraging because it's like, okay, we can do this, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? we're,
Mhm.
Yes,
I'm, we're capable of doing this. So
yes.
I think it's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
Now, before, I know Aaron has got a ton of questions, but I
Yeah.
did want to show your family, and maybe you could tell us from side to side who's who. So listen, guys, this is the genius tree that she came from.
So the boy at the end, on the very end in the dark blue polo, is my little brother. I know he's taller than me, he looks older than me, but he's my little brother. His name is Ian. He graduated this May with his master's in business, and he's going on.
Wow.
He started his PhD program this semester at UNT in learning technologies, and he's 17. So I'm very, very proud of him for that.
Hmm.
And then next to him is my dad. He owns his own business, and he's been a political consultant for like 30 years now or something incredible. So he's very experienced, very, very motivated and dedicated, and such an inspiration. And then in the middle is me. And then
Hey.
on right next to me on my left, right, whichever way you're looking at this, is my mom. She's the emergency medicine physician. She's just, obviously such a huge role model for me as well, not just as a Black woman, but also somebody who pushed me and believed in me when I didn't realize that that's something that I even needed, much less was I
Okay.
able to give that to myself or ask for it. And then at the very end is my little sister. She's adopted from Ethiopia, and so that's a huge element of our family now,
Yes,
just Ethiopian
beautiful.
culture. She's 15 and she's in college, so I'm very proud of her for that. She's in her junior year, senior year. It's not linear, but she's in college. So
Wow.
she is doing her thing. My brother and sister are rocking their thing. So very
Yes.
I have
You
two
know,
sons who would love to be adopted by your parents. I mean,
listen, everything they touch is prospering. I think that is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. You know, you what I like is your siblings, you guys, if there is any type of the normal sibling competition thing, that is really something to compete with, because who's gonna say, hey girl, you be like, oh, I got a doctorate, but I graduated from law school, you know what
Yes, it's been healthy competition.
exactly. I like that. I like that.
so let's keep going with the progression. were in, just for people who probably were just tuning in, you were in public school until fifth grade, and
Yes.
then your parents homeschooled you after fifth grade,
Yes.
and in 3 years' time, you graduated from high school.
I did. I was able to get from 5th to 12th grade in those 3 years.
Fifth to 12th grade in 3 years. Okay, so
Oh my God.
you graduated with a bunch of 17-year-olds at 13,
Yeah.
and then your parents were concerned. You were telling me off backstage that they didn't want you to be thrust into college life so fast.
Yes, well, because I'm the oldest, no, obviously there's not a blueprint with anybody's kids to begin with, but especially in such an accelerated setting, I'm the oldest, so they didn't even have this like experience. At least for my brother and sister, when they kind of knew the paperwork they would need or the people to talk to or whatever. But being the oldest, it was all very new. It was new for me, new for them. So, and then on top of that, I was 13, so they were like, I don't know if we want to like, can you like not like undermining my intelligence or my ability to work hard, but college is very
Right.
different from high school, so they're like, we just don't know if we should thrust you into this because you're 13, and then at the same time, everyone on the campus is going to be 18 to 22, and then you're
Mhm.
13, so just safety and things like that, like
Right.
we want to be able to be fully engaged and aware. And I
Mhm.
obviously couldn't drive and stuff, so I couldn't even apply to colleges all over the country. I mean, like I could apply, but I couldn't go to colleges all over the country
Right.
because the whole family would have to uproot and move. So they put me in community college, and that was just such a wonderful move because while at community college, it exposed me to college level work, and
Okay.
it exposed my parents it allowed like my parents to get exposed to me on a college campus and show, like number one, that it's just like this is a good environment for me, but also, the nitty gritty of like, can we trust her and can we like trust the environment and, like,
Yes.
is she ready for this, and just all the things that parents would be concerned about. And also it was cheaper, so that was good because this was all so new, and this was never, they didn't homeschool me ever thinking we're going to make her the youngest this or send her to college at 13. That was never the intent. So it's not like that was
Right.
a huge fund for any of this. So it was just really, really good for our situation and for my story in general. It was very good because I was able to do my freshman and my sophomore year in this 1 year at community college. Then I transferred to Texas Women's University and graduated after 2 years at TWU. So I took 3 years total for my undergraduate degree. But that was really feasible because of community college. So that was the next natural step for us.
I'm
Wow.
laughing out of
But she says it like, and I brought some red.
amazement because she's like, this just come, which is a beautiful thing that it comes so naturally. And I will say that I like how you stated this wasn't something like my parents are doing. A lot of times parents are trying to live vicariously through their kids. But your parents both are extremely successful in what they are doing. So this was just a natural course of life for you. Like, okay, well, and all of their concerns were absolutely valid. Thinking about a 13-year-old being on campus with older people and in general, older men, because, you're still 13.
Yep.
But, so at the same time, I think it's a beautiful thing that, they just allow you to do what was natural for you,
Yes. Yes.
So I wanted to read this from Crystal because she is one of our faithful listeners. Hi, all the way there, host Keela B and Aaron, also your special guest, Miss Haley Taylor. You guys came on early. I'm glad I happened to look at my phone. I usually watch you on my iPad. Well, listen, y'all, we are on Haley's schedule, and y'all know I was not going to let her get away from me today. So when she said we had to go on early, the time was changed. It was a no-brainer because I was so excited to have her here. So, Aaron, what's your next question?
No, I was gonna say I love the way Haley just rattled off things like, it's no big deal. I got my degree in here, and I got my undergraduate. Because when I was 13, I was still learning how to wash up. Okay, so look, so you graduated in 3 years' time from high school, no, from fifth grade to 12th grade in
Yes.
3 years. How do you, because I've never been homeschooled. The only homeschool I know is like, playing school at home.
Yeah.
But how do you cram, what is that, 7 years of school into 3?
Yeah, so it's a great question. The thing about homeschooling for me was my like strongest area, or my strongest element was math. So a lot of things, like when I was in fifth grade, I was like, everything was so new, you know. But when I was in fifth grade, I was in the fifth grade level like math course, because that's just kind of where they plugged me in. When I went to my college style school, I wasn't entirely homeschooled. I went to school 2 days a week. The rest of the time I was at home. So they had teachers there and stuff like that, where I was in just their fifth grade class at the school. And that did take a lot of load off of my parents, where they didn't have to feel like they had to teach me everything, but at the same time, it gave them that control. And that control is how we were able to get me from fifth grade at 10 to graduating high school at 13, because they were able to see, okay, you know, she's done, she's ready to move on. Whereas a lot of people, an example, is, you know, geometry takes a year to do for most people when they're in high school. But for me, they decided, you know, I wanted it and I asked, but they were like, this is a good idea for you to do. I did geometry over the summer, and they gave me a course online, and I basically did the course and kind of just worked with it myself. And after 3 months, I passed out of the course, and I got, you know, obviously a good grade, but more on top of that, I learned geometry. So I was ready to move on to algebra 2. So I was able to move at my own pace, because I did still go to school. So my parents didn't have to know everything and learn everything to teach it to me. So they did have that guidance, and I got that socialization and that experience. But at the same time, it was non-traditional. It was only 2 days a week. They had that flexibility to control it. So when I was 11, that's when things started to pick up. I started algebra, and then I taught myself geometry over the summer. Then I did algebra 2. And then the rest of the classes kind of matched that level. So the rest of the classes kind of matched that level. So whatever most, you know, students are learning, you know, like American history when they're learning algebra, like the rest of the classes kind of matched what I was doing in math. So everything was able to.
That's wonderful.
Wow.
You know, that's wonderful, because I still remember my daughter coming home with some homework in the fourth grade. And so I was problem solving with her the way that we learned in school. And so her teacher sent it back and said, well, this is not the way you do it. And I'm like, well, your way looks complicated. So the answer is right. And she said, well, the answer is right. I'm like, I'm battling with fourth grade math. You know what I'm saying? So
my mom went exactly through that too. Exactly. Through that. Yeah.
And she's a doctor, guys, so I'm normal. Okay, guys. So please know that. So what did Crystal say, Aaron?
Working full time, I graduated from WC3 in Haley. That's a college here, Wayne County Community College. In 3 years, it took me 6 years to get my bachelor's at University of Detroit before the Mercy was added. Now it's University of Detroit Mercy.
Yeah.
Wow, Crystal. So
congratulations,
wow.
Still.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And Crystal says, Miss Haley, you go, girl, or should I be correct in spell it girl? What? Oh, she said maybe she should be correct because you're okay. So that's another question I have. In high school, if you the homeschool high school, and I know they have GPAs. What was yours?
So my GPA was about a 3.9, just a little above that. I got mostly A's after when they pulled me out of fifth grade. Like I said, there's kind of a history, several reasons why they pulled me out of public school. But one of them is that my grades were going from straight A's in elementary school to when I got to fifth grade, which was intermediate school in my school district, my grades went to B's. And B is not a bad grade, but my mom was just checking in on me, like, are you okay? What's going on? Like, just to make sure you're doing good. Like, the material got harder, so that would make sense, and a B is a good grade, but just to make sure that you're like, okay. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't have to do any work to get a B, so why would I do work? I mean, to get an A, why would I do that? Like, when I could just literally show up and do nothing and get a B. And my mom, number one, being a doctor, and number two is just a mom and wanting me to be an engaged and good student. It's like, that's not how school works, right? So we're gonna, like, you're just, maybe she was like, maybe you're not being challenged. Like, that's what that sounds like. Like, the work is too easy for you. But if you actually had to work to get your B and A, maybe you would be challenged and engaged and motivated. So she asked to be tested for the gifted and talented program. And they said no, because you can only take it in kindergarten, and we didn't move to Texas till I was in second grade. So so when they decided to homeschool me, we did still have GPAs and things like that. We didn't really have graduating class ranks, because the total graduating class was like 5 to 15 students per graduating class. It was a small school, so the number didn't really mean as much as it does in a public school where you have hundreds of students. So they didn't really keep track of that. But the GPAs and the transcripts and stuff they did have. So it was the same like that too.
That is very,
so out of
very
everything you said, what I heard was you went to school and could have got a B, by just showing up. And if it were
Yep.
me, I wouldn't have said a word.
Yeah. Aaron would be like, I would like, I got a B, and listen, don't challenge my B. But again, that's your parent being in tune with the child.
Yes,
And
right.
a lot of times, even for school teachers, which our other co-host taught, she actually taught before she went into administration. She
Yeah.
would tell us that she wished more parents would get
Yeah.
involved, because they
Yeah.
send their kids to school and expect the school to just be the babysitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's exactly what it is.
so Aaron, we have another question or a statement.
Miss Doris Graham says, it sounds like you are well-rounded. How did you handle being in classes with students older than you? You are 13 years and they are dating.
Yes, that's a really good question. So it wasn't honestly that weird. And I think a lot of it was because it wasn't traditional public school 5 days a week, that kind of thing. So that
Okay.
did impact the environment. They were dating, some of them were. For me, I was there to get the lesson, get the homework, and I wasn't around them 40 hours a week, like
Okay.
they weren't my primary socialization throughout the week. Like I was
Okay.
at home a lot, doing my extracurriculars a lot. So they were older than me, but really they were just my classmates, and we would be in class and do homework. And during class and stuff, maybe because the classes were smaller, because of the environment that it was home, college style homeschooling or whatever, it's not like they were all hugged up during class, so it wasn't an
Right.
appropriate setting for me, and it wasn't weird, and we were just classmates. So
Okay.
they did know they were older than me, and I knew I was younger, but otherwise, we do our group projects, I turn in my homework. It really wasn't
Yeah.
too bad.
I would have been like, this is my little sister, guys. She's smart. She's
Mhm. This is another question that we asked backstage. What did you do for fun?
So there's a lot of things I like to do for fun. I like to read. Education in school already entails a lot of reading. So when I'm reading for fun, it's typically romance novels and fiction and things like that. And I also really like to watch anime. And I played the piano for like 10 years. So that's just relaxing at this point now. So yeah, those are some things that I've been doing since I was young that I still love to do.
I love it.
So let's keep going with the progression. Okay, so from 5th grade, 3 years later, you completed high school.
Yes.
Okay, then you went to community college.
Yes.
And from community college, how long did it take you to get your undergrad degree?
So I started my undergraduate degree when I was 13, and I graduated when I was 16. So 3 years.
another 3 years to complete what people would normally complete in 4.
Right.
And you're 16 years old. So you're barely driving with an undergrad degree.
Yes. So my dad would drive me. Texas Women's University was about a 40-minute drive from our house. So my dad would drive me every day I had classes and wait up there and do his work and then come home, because I couldn't drive the first couple years of the first 2 of the 3 years of my undergraduate degree. So when I finally was able to drive, my mom was like, we need to get her a car. That way she can drive and you can, you don't have to drive it all the way up there and stay up there all day.
Mhm.
So when I was able to drive, I drove for the tail end of my undergraduate degree.
Wow.
That is so awesome. If it's anything, I know this podcast is completely and totally about you.
Mhm.
But if it is anything that I want you to realize, which I know you do, but when you get much older and have your own family, you will realize how much your parents invested and love you.
Mhm.
That is really all I hear. And definitely congratulations to you. But it cannot go unsaid without mentioning them, because it's so many of us out here that want the best for our kids. And some people can invest the time because they really do have to work 50 jobs to try to maintain a family.
Yeah, right.
And then some people are trying to live their own life and not really care about what their kids are doing. So
Yeah.
it's a blessing. It is a true blessing that your parents are that well invested.
That is definitely true, because I know that I was raised by a single mom, and she did everything that she could do possibly to keep us motivated in school. She couldn't do homeschool. The closest we came to homeschool is when she threw a book at us for not doing our homework. But but okay, so let's keep going with the progression. It took you 3 years from your high school diploma to your undergrad. That's 16.
Yes.
So where did we go after the undergrad?
So then I went to Southern Methodist University, Dedman School of Law. So I went to law school. That school's in Dallas. So also local. At this point, I could drive myself. So they didn't have to worry about driving to Dallas every day either. So it was a very good fit. I had applied for undergrad. I applied to 17 or 18 different schools, and I got accepted to all of them. But like we were talking about, I was so young that I had to stay local. And then for law school, although it was now an option because I could drive, like now I could go to a school out of state and drive myself. I was still only 16, so my parents were like, like let's try to keep it as close as possible because that way we could be there for you, when you need something. So I was able to the whole time, my whole education, I lived at home. There was about maybe 4 months in my first year of law school that I got in my own apartment across the street from the law school, and I was living there, and I was 17 or 16, 17. But then COVID hit, so I came right back home. So that was short-lived. So I've lived home the whole time. But yes, I went to SMU in Dallas, so I was able to drive myself.
Very nice. So here's a few graduating pictures. Congratulations. So listen, guys, when I was doing my homework on Haley, I told Aaron, I said, this girl graduated so many times, I have to find out which one is recent because she looked the same age in all of these pictures, right? She looked the same age in all of her pictures. So I had to This is so awesome, girl. I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
So how long did it take from beginning law school to that graduation date?
3 years.
Another 3 years.
Yes, that was my theme. 3 years.
Now, how long typically? How long typically?
3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So right on track there. They strongly recommended against me trying to do it in 2 years.
Okay. So you went over the norm. I mean, actually, was it norm?
3 years was the norm. So okay. I was right on target for when I graduated.
She just was early when she started.
Yeah, there we go.
But normal.
Right.
So did you know from a child you wanted to go into law?
No, I actually wanted to be a doctor all the way up until my sophomore year of undergrad because I wanted to be like my mom. But in my sophomore year of undergrad, I did just a lot of reflection. This is when I was transferring from my local community college to Texas Women's University. I had done a lot of reflection on just, how I got to where I'm at right now and how fortunate I was, like you hit on earlier, but just how fortunate I was to not only have parents who didn't take no for an answer from the public schools and they said I couldn't be tested for GT. Like the public schools to the contrary said that they thought I should be held back because my grades were falling and I didn't do as well as they wanted on the pre-STAR test. So they actually thought the opposite of my parents. And so I was so fortunate to have parents who didn't take no for an answer, saw something in me when nobody else did, and really took the reins on my education and pulled me out and homeschooled me. And not only did they know of that opportunity and didn't take no for an answer, but they were also very active and they took these steps to make sure I got the education I needed. And I was very, very fortunate. But yes. I did some reflection. I was like, how many parents and families out there, how many students are not getting the education they need because the families just cannot, maybe financially, time-wise, maybe the student would not thrive in a homeschool setting. How many families out there cannot homeschool? And where would I be if I wasn't able to homeschool? Like I would probably be in college right now. And that's just a miss. Like I'm sure like being successful, it's not like a detriment where I would have just been like nothing. But how to be able to have missed this opportunity to really have thrived and maximize my potential. How many other students are we missing? So I switched my major to education and decided I wanted to go into education law to change the way the public school system looks. That way families who can't homeschool, you shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be this hard to get the education that each student needs. And I know it's difficult because we have thousands and thousands of students, but that does not mean we shouldn't always strive for a better education for our country. So
I totally agree.
Then I wanted to go to law school after that. So it was not always.
So she wanted to fight. So I like that. So here, Aaron, read Crystal's question.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Haley, if or when you practice law, what will be your interest to practice?
Yes, no, like education law is definitely what I want to go in. When I say that, people are like, what is that? It's not as like common or as familiar in just the public of like criminal law or constitutional law. Like, what is education law? And it really can be what you want it to end up being. There are so many nonprofits out there that advocate for specific policies that Congress is contemplating and drafting. So you can go into advocacy groups, you can work for nonprofits, you could be some sort of lobbyist, you can be an elected official and draft those policies and be in that room and kind of bring that voice to the table. So there's a lot of options there for going into education law. And, I have a lot of big ideas. I do want to be an elected official one day. So one day,
got my vote.
soon.
Definitely.
I want an absentee all the way from Michigan.
Yes. So I want to go, and I would definitely want to draft policies that change the way our public school system looks. It was when it was created, it was never made with the idea of even the possibility of our country looking the way it does and serving the students that it serves. Gen Z, the generation I'm part of, is the most diverse generation this country's ever seen, and the first generation that this country's ever seen that's majority minority. And this public school system was never made for anything like that in mind. It was never made for girls to use it. It was never made for people of color to use it. It was never made to serve English language learners, people with disabilities, gifted and talented students. It was never made for that. And even the intent of school was not to create critical thinkers either. So there's a lot of room for improvement, and that's what I want to go into. And I even wrote a book with my mom called The Homeschool Alternative, where we talk about families who cannot homeschool. You could still have a homeschooling mindset. And in that book, we talk about what that means. And really, to sum it up, yes, that's another book. Really, to sum it up, it was basically being an active participant in your education, and using an education as a tool rather than the means to the end. It's a way to get to the end. It's not the only way. You use it as a way to support your students' education. But if it's not serving what it needs to, that doesn't mean that that's where it ends. Even if you can't homeschool and the student still goes to school, obviously they have options like skipping grades, but that's a difficult process. But AP, dual enrollment, just the gifted and talented programs, if you can get into that, doing extra work when you get home as the student, like taking an active, being more active in your education and taking the reins on that is always what I hope my story inspires for students, not to be the youngest this or to graduate.
Right.
Not even those things, but to really be a more active participant in your education, because I always say that you don't find your path, you make it. And it may sound cliche, but really you're not going to walk down the road and find a shell of yourself and climb into it and now you found yourself, and we all know that, but we don't really practice it. You really need to be active in your education and in your life, making what you want it to be. And sometimes it's so much easier said than done, especially for certain groups, but having that mindset will already set you ahead. So
listening to you talk, it makes me think about it, because we obviously haven't talked about any religion or backgrounds off the grid, but it just makes me think how just God instills certain things in people. Like your purpose, you are totally walking in alignment with where you just the setup is just amazing. Like God gave us all different gifts and talents. And everybody is placed in different areas to make sure things run in order. And we need people in all of these places.
Yes.
And it's just amazing to me.
Yes. Because I know I'm here to make the planet more handsome. But so Mrs. Graham said, when did your parents know for sure you were an exceptional student? Was it before kindergarten?
So that's a great question. They, you sometimes when you have retrospect, you can look and see like, oh, well, maybe that was a sign that your child was like, trying to, was exceptional or had a gift or a talent in this area. So when they look in retrospect, they took me to it's a tour when I was like, I don't know, 2 or 3. I was probably 2. I don't even think my brother was born yet. So when I was like 2, and we went to the Supreme Court like as a tour, and the first word that I have ever read, it said bar on there. So they were like, it's kind of like full circle, because now I just finished taking the bar in July and one of the players were like, that's so weird. So I guess when you're looking in retrospect, it's like, oh wow, but specifically exceptional. When my parents asked IB test for the gifted TEL program, the public school system said no, or at least the one that we were in, the ISD we were in. So then they had me tested for an IQ test. And after the IQ test was over, the tester came out and said, you need to put her in college. Like, she needs to be in early college, because it's like I had scored really high on the charts, and they were like, she needs to be in early college. So that's really when it hit that they were right, because the school said I needed to be held back, and they were saying that I just wasn't being challenged, both about why my grades weren't as good as they used to be. And so my parents were like, see, this was the affirmation we needed. So on top of some sexism and racism I had faced in the school district, also them wanting to hold me back, and then I got tested and came back as highly gifted. They were like, no, that was the trigger. That was the, hay on the camel's back. That was enough. We're
I
gonna
love
figure out.
it.
So
I
that
love
one
Wow.
is
it.
10.
That is so
You
inspiring.
know, I
Haley.
remember thinking one time when my daughter was in second grade and they had found out that she had skipped a grade. And technically, she didn't skip a grade, but they tested her and she started kindergarten early. So
Okay.
instead of her starting at 5, she started at 4 because they
Yeah.
said, well, there's really no need for her to be in pre-K. She could just go
Yeah.
straight to kindergarten. Well,
Yeah.
when the teacher discovered that she was the younger student in the class, she
Mhm.
wanted me to hold her back for just that reason alone. And I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, if she's doing the work, why would I hold her back?
Literally.
And so she was like, well, I just think socially she'll just be better with kids her own age. I'm like, it's only 1 year difference.
Yeah.
Literally.
I'm like, no, I'm not going for it. And so I
Literally.
didn't, but I'm not alone with that story. Like I've heard other people say that teachers have asked them to hold their kids back, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
what?
know if this is a
Yeah.
certain group of
Literally.
people that they're trying to
Yeah.
hold back. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So Haley, we have something in common. The first, well, let me read this comment first. You would be a great speaker to adults and children in helping them make decisions in their lives. You really would.
Yes. And
So,
I want you to read Agnes'
oh,
comment right
okay.
before you go to your point.
This young lady is amazing. Perfect example and inspiration for everyone.
Absolutely.
That is so true. Yep. So we have something in common, Miss Haley.
Mhm.
My first word was bar.
See?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
probably was a protein
It
breakfast
was
bar.
a candy bar. It was a candy bar, but it was bar. So you just
No, it counts. It counts.
jacks
It
up my
counts.
joke.
Well,
So
I
let me
gave
ask you
you
this.
protein.
So, Haley, you've been seen photographed with like the vice president. How
Yes.
did that come about?
Yes. So actually, this was still this was before she was ever even nominated for vice president. She was going around, like doing like speeches and motivational and engaging speeches, and I was actually the person who introduced her because she came to Tarrant County, and I was the one who introduced her. So I went out there, I read her bio. We got to meet like backstage before the event had started, and so it was just, at the time, obviously, like I said, she hadn't even been nominated. We didn't know, like you could see it, like you could totally see that she'd make a great vice president and president,
Yeah.
but she wasn't yet. But yeah, I have that picture, and so now it's not a vice president, and I'm like, yep, that's me and her.
I know her.
Yes, so
Right.
it's so good. She told her that she told me I inspired her and that she was so proud of me, and it just felt really, really good at the time. And now, in retrospect, like it just makes me smile to be like, the vice president said that I inspire her, and I was like,
That is so
"See?" I'm
awesome.
blushing. I'm blushing.
So awesome.
So in all of these this whole timeline of your education, albeit so early and so fast, what do you think are like one or two or three down things about it? Like did you go to the prom? There's no
Yes,
prom.
well, I didn't have. It wasn't a prom. It was a debutante. Actually, that's what I
Yeah.
did, and it was wonderful. It was just like a prom, but in my opinion, better. And so I really, really like that. So a lot of people ask about my socialization. My socialization, I think that could be a potential downfall. Mine specifically was not, because my mom made it a point to make sure
Yeah.
that I did basketball, I did horseback riding, speech and debate, volleyball, you name it. I probably did it. Like instruments, sports, hobbies, math camps. I did it all. So she made sure that I was exposed to kids my age. But I think I got even a better socialization than what public school could provide, because in life, you're not going to always be in that tier system where
Right,
people your age or
right.
your peers, older than you, are those in charge, younger than you, you're in charge of. It's not always going to be like that. You're not even, number one, going to always know other people's ages. But even if you do, they could be your boss. They could you could be their boss. Like, it's not that structure, and you need to be able to socialize with people of any age. You need to be able to function in society like that. And so I got that socialization at a young age, and I got socialization with my peers. So it was just a very healthy socialization. I think that could be a drawback, though, of homeschooling if you don't do it right, or at least are not intentional about it. Making sure that your student does get out, because it's really easy for just the day-to-day to go by, and it's been months and they haven't really gotten out and just done the activities and hung out with friends and stuff. So that's something that I think could be a drawback. Unfortunately, it wasn't for me or my siblings, but it easily could be. And I think another potential drawback, or like, well, potential depending on who you are, but for me it was something that I wouldn't even call it a drawback, but more just a consequence, I guess, is being so young on top of being a Black woman. It was just another thing for them to try to tell me no with. So for
Right.
example, when I was an undergrad, there were several teachers that when I tried to sign out, I was taking 7 classes a semester along with winter classes and summer classes. And one semester in particular, I wanted to sign up for chemistry and biology because I was, you have to take science classes anyway, but I was a science major. So I wanted to take those 2 classes for science majors, which is like the harder level science. And they were like, no, she can't handle it, whatever. So we literally had to go to their boss to make sure I could get signed up for those classes. So that's an
Wow.
example. When I was in law school, I had several teachers who would tell me I wasn't like my week class, like in the first year of law school, they sign you up for your classes. And one of the classes that they sign you up for is legal research and writing. And I'm a really great writer. But
Okay.
number one, this was very foreign, legal things, like
Right.
it's a language. But on top of that, this teacher was really not a great teacher for me. I'm not discrediting her, but for me, like that just was not working. And she told me, if you do this on the final, you're going to fail my class. This is why a 16-year-old shouldn't be in law school. And so it's just really on top of potential racism and sexism you're going to face. It's just obviously, I mean, like something that may seem obvious, but you don't really think about it until maybe, or maybe you don't think about it until you experience it or face it, or at least see other people face it. It is a potential like means for discrimination or people trying to stop you. It's like being younger. And so obviously don't let it stop you. Like do your best and let that roll off your back, ignore the haters, all that good stuff. But it definitely is something that you will experience, is that discrimination. So like I said, I wouldn't really call it a drawback because at the end of the day, I'm still successful despite her saying that.
Absolutely.
It is a consequence. So.
I'm glad you didn't listen to the negative voices because there are so many people who said, well, I was told this and then I gave up. I was told this and then I gave up. So I love that you fought and went through the voices, that people try, because you did have quite a few things against you. And for one, people are totally intimidated by somebody much younger than them because they're like, who do you think you are? I mean, I was 35 when with the stage you're at now. So, so I like that you fought through that.
Yes. And that's what I try to tell my students, like, because I didn't get the grade I was hoping for in that class, in law school, they have two, there's like probably a couple others, but 2 main types of classes. One where you take a final essay and one where you write a final paper. And in law school, I share, I let people know, like, I'm sharing my experience, at least at SMU, that you have one assignment, and that assignment determines your whole grade in the class. So any other work that you're doing, it's just to get you prepared for that assignment. So it's either a final exam at the end of the class. If you pass that exam, you pass the class. If you fail the exam, you fail the class. Like that's your whole grade. Or a paper where it's the same thing, but you get to work on the paper the whole semester. And so for me, after legal research and writing, at first I was very intimidated. I was like, I'm a very good writer and I love writing, but clearly this is not my like strong suit. But I decided, like, obviously talking to my parents, and they, like cheered me on and stuff, but also it takes a lot of, internal like motivation as well. Where I was like, you know what? No, like I'm going to get good at this because I love writing and I want to be good at this because it's important as a lawyer. So for the next 2 years after my first year, I really pretty much only took classes that have final papers. And after that first year, I haven't got below a B on any of my legal papers. Awesome. And I was an editor for the American Bar Association. So you can like really use it as like an opportunity to grow, And so for me, it was I decided not to listen to her, which is sometimes way easier said than done. You don't even realize. Like
you are packed with surprises.
Yes.
Like every time I think we've reached a peak.
Yes, she says something.
You throw out another bone.
Yeah.
So effortlessly.
She says it like, and I wore my red socks on Tuesday and I wore my blue socks on Wednesday.
Right. And so of course, because I did this, and so it's no big deal. I'm like, wait. Because we can talk about that part. That is amazing. I'm so excited for you. But I did want to show people this picture because this was a perfect moment. I just went to go search for it. That she got to stand with Kamala.
Yes.
How awesome is that?
It was such an awesome moment.
I bet it was. That is so beautiful. Yeah. You are so ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You are so ahead of the game. I want the best for you. Like you're my own child, such an inspiration, like Aaron just said, for so many people. I pray you continue on that path, and like you just was talking about earlier about not letting the haters stop you, or because the one thing about when you are doing something, even at this age, like you're 21. She just turned 21, guys. She just celebrated a birthday.
Mhm.
Even at this age that we are, like with your parents' age,
Mhm.
you still, those voices don't go away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you have to continually fight those voices, and I
Yeah.
just hope that is something that you always press through,
Oh, definitely.
because you are an unstoppable force.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys.
And I
So
totally go. What were you about to say, Aaron?
I can see why Keela was so excited to have you on, because
Man,
Keela is extremely intelligent herself. So intelligence attracts intelligence.
well,
And
thank
so,
you.
when she said, "Oh, I'm so super excited," I said, "Wow, she must be something special," because, Keela is just above board when it comes to, people and exposing people. Not exposing, but,
Yeah,
having people on the
I know what
show.
you mean, bringing people on the show.
Right.
But
So,
look, I'm over here like a kid. I'm like, oh my God, she said yes. People were looking at me like, okay. Y'all don't understand. I was impressed.
yeah.
Agnes has a question, or a statement. Oh, no, a
In
question.
in 10 years, if you look back, what will you wish to have accomplished?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Like I said, I want to go into education policy, so I hope that in 10 years I've really made some headway into that. Changing like the things that seem little, like how much our teachers get paid or the teacher diversity, especially to reflect and serve such a diverse student body that we're seeing now, to bigger things like the school structure or what's taught to students. We have states all over the country that are all over the place on teaching slavery or critical race theory or book banning or all the hot button topics that, although maybe to some people are just political, like, chess pieces,
Right.
for some people, I mean, for the students and for families, this is their education. This is gonna, like, this could potentially change the trajectory of how they think in their lives and how they grow and shape as human beings, and they need to learn the truth, and they need to learn it in depth, and they deserve a good education. So
I
to answer
love
your
it.
question, in 10 years, I'm definitely hoping to have made some serious headway into addressing, like teacher diversity, student education quality and content, and really like the layout of the school day, because the 2 days a week work really, really well for me. And although cutting down public school 2 days a week is probably, like, some students really thrive in an academic setting where they have that accountability every single day, maybe it doesn't have to be the exact same time and the exact same days for all students. And that would make the classroom sizes smaller, and that'll be easier for teachers. And there's not going to be one answer, and I think that's what I really like to emphasize to people, is that the education system needs to change as this country is changing.
Yes.
So there's not going to be an answer that we can come up with, or a law that we're going to write that is just solid for the rest of the time or solve the problem. It needs to be revisited as technology develops and as our students change. So something that might work now, like smaller classroom sizes or varying schedules for students or whatever, may not work later. And on top of that, it's not just education. I mean, we need to also raise the minimum wage, just so parents don't have to work 2 and 3 jobs, so that way they don't have to use school as a
Exactly.
daycare. It's not an isolated issue. So
Mm.
Girl.
I'm hoping to make some serious headway into that.
Wow.
Let
So
me tell y'all. Go ahead, Aaron.
one of the things that I see that you had time for, though, was to pledge a sorority, and I'm like, how do you even have time to do that?
Yes.
Yes, I pledged Sigma Gamma Rho on legacy of my mom. So, last creative best design.
That is so
We're the
beautiful.
best. Yes. So I crossed in 2020. COVID kind of blurred all the years together. But
Right.
Yeah, it would blur.
Well, they would be a blur because you did like 50 schools in that
Yeah.
time.
Wow. So
Love it.
let's add to your credentials. Let's say high school graduate at 13. Got an undergraduate at 16. You got a doctorate at 19.
Yes.
You are an editor for the American Bar Association.
Yes, I was.
You crossed over into Sigma Gamma Rho, right?
Yes, I did.
She's an author.
Say again.
Did you say the author of the
I
book?
was I'm just about to say that she authored a book.
Yes.
All under 21.
Yes.
Wow. Is that
Guys,
something? I mean, this is I don't have the words. Let's go to Miss Graham's comment. If you
I
want.
was just gonna say this right quick though. So I was so nervous because I'm getting ready to go back to school for a leadership. It's just a leadership class. But I was telling Aaron, I'm so nervous. He said, girl, I'm like, first of all, I'm just gonna put my Haley hat on,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna breeze through this. Like,
Yeah.
what
Yes,
was
you
our
are. Yes, you are. You're gonna get this. It's gonna be easy. But yeah, no, study habits. What were some of your study habits? I think I heard you say you had 7 classes in one semester. Yes,
Yeah.
I did. I would say one of the biggest impact, one of the things that really impacted my study habits that homeschool really helped me develop, because there is a lot more accountability on the student and the parents when you don't have a teacher telling you every day, test on Friday, or homework, do, whatever it may be. So there is a lot more time management, self accountability required. I had this giant whiteboard the size of a whole wall, and I would split it up into sections for each of my classes. And for me, I would work as far ahead as I could, so that way as things came up in life, I had that flexibility. But on top of that, I would do the homework for the classes I had that day, while it was fresh, while the teacher knew what they were talking about. That way they knew, remembered it. If I had questions, it really was easy for me to go throughout the rest of the week. And when the teacher said pull out your homework, I wasn't I forgot to do it. I did it the day I got it. And so for me, that made it easy, because God forbid if something happened, I was 1 or 2 days behind, but 1 or 2 days behind it's still not due for another 3 days. So it's not like I planned on doing it the day before it was due, and now something happened, because things happen and now it's late, or now I'm behind, or now I have to cram. I really tried to have those study habits, and I developed them, and it really, really helped in law school, because, something that's really easy and to happen in law school is, specifically at least, is getting drowned in your work. Each class, you have 5 classes that they sign you up for in your first year, and each class probably signs about 60, 70 pages of reading, and they meet every other day. So it's not 70 pages of reading and you have a week. This is due, we're going to talk about it next class, and that's the day after tomorrow. So, and you had several classes that met a day. So you had to have strategies where that's not even really feasible. So you're not going to read 210 pages in one day. You have to have those strategies on how you read efficiently, how you manage your time, how you get through your homework. And something that's also important is you put on your calendar when your class is, when you're going to do your homework, all that stuff. You need to put on your calendar when you're going to take care of yourself. That's just as important. So
I like that.
It's overlooked, it needs to be on your calendar, because your calendar reflects what's important to you, what you have to make sure you get done and be there for throughout your day. And you need to be there for yourself too. That needs to be on your calendar. So that's something I picked up in law school that has just really helped, with my career and stuff too, making sure that I can be my best self because I'm taking care of myself.
Exactly. Well, that's going to be the strategy that I'm taking, because, child, if you could do all of that, I better be able to do something for one night a week.
I don't think you'll have any problems, Keely.
I don't think so, because she just gave me my boost. That was first of all, I'm gonna put on my Haley cap, and I'm just gonna breeze right on through this, right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, and
so listen, go ahead. What were you about to say, Aaron?
I was just gonna say the challenge is, if you have any child who some administrator says to keep them behind, take a page from Keela and Haley's parents and get a brick, throw it right through the school window, and say, no, I'm not keeping my kid behind. No, I'm just kidding. But push your kids, and and make sure that they're maximizing their potential.
Yes.
And I wanted to add, please go and get her book. It's on Amazon. Turn on the Power. I'm actually going to get a book, but I want Haley to sign it. So I'm going to send it to her and pay for the postage to have it sent back.
Do it. Yeah.
So I'm totally impressed. I'm so glad that you came. And did you want to say something really quick to the people?
Just, I'm really glad I was here. I really echo what you said, Aaron. My dad always said, and I'm not a parent, so I'm really glad that he said this, because now I can kind of see it from his point of view. Don't limit your kids to what you think a 5th grader is. I really think that would have held me back. If my parents were kind of like your experience with your daughter and your teacher. No, socialization or whatever reason you may think what a 5th grader is, your student is not a 5th grader. They're them as a human being. And I always make the analogy, you're trying to fit something that's not even cookie dough into a cookie cutter system, because most people are very different, but the public school system treats them all the same. So make sure you're there to push your student. They might not be cookie dough, but you can still make that work. They can still get through and really thrive, but you need to be there and not try to put them in that cookie cutter, in the box. So I echo that.
Cute.
I echo that.
Thank you. And guys, listen, go follow her page and do all that good stuff. I'll post her book so you can buy it. And thank you, Haley, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, you guys.
Bye, guys.